Hello, I'm Sylvia Cox, the Executive Vice President here at Southeastern Community College, and we want to welcome you today to Columbus School Connects. Today we have Mr. Jamie Faulk here, and he was Principal of the Year, and we're going to talk to him a little bit more about his journey and into education and all he's done for our community throughout the years through the power of teaching and being a part of the school system. So welcome, Mr. Faulk. We're so excited that you're here today. Thanks for taking time out of your super busy schedule to talk to us about Columbus School Connects and the things that teachers and administration does for education here in Columbus County.
Well, good morning, and I'm glad to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
Great. So we're highlighting that you were selected last year as the Principal of the Year for Columbus County Schools. So that is quite an honor, but also an honor that your students recognized you and you were selected for the Richard Kanzler Administrator of the Year, and that's through the North Carolina Association of Student Council. So not only did your peers recognize you, but your students recognized you and the state recognized you. So why don't you tell us a little bit about that honor, how it feels to be selected really in two areas and two different groups, because sometimes it's really hard for students for you to be an administrator and do the right things for students and them still know and feel really connected to you. So why don't you tell us a little bit about those two honors and how it's impacted you?
Okay. Well, being a principal, this was my fourth year as a principal in Columbus County. Before that, I was the assistant principal at Central Middle School, Whiteville City Schools. And I was very honored that my colleagues nominated me to be considered for Principal of the Year. And then, of course, you had to go through the process and commit or submit some essays and then have an interview process. And then I was selected. I was very honored. The board recognized me at the annual recognition banquet. And then, of course, my students, I found out through Miss Judy Pettaway, she was our advisor for Student Council last year, that they had nominated me. And then I actually accompanied them to the state convention where I was recognized by the executive board of the NCASC, which is North Carolina Association of Student Councils, as the Richard Kanzler Administrator of the Year. So that was a highly honorable moment, a humbling moment, that my students actually recognized that I was advocating for them and giving them a voice. And I really appreciate the honor from both my colleagues, my students, and both the Board of Education and then, of course, the executive board of the NCASC.
Yes, that is quite an honor. A lot of times, I remind people that I was a teacher, and that's where I started my journey in a high school classroom. And a lot of times as you're preparing in education, you do a variety of things, but often they tell you that you're in it for the long haul.
Right.
That oftentimes, it may be that you're doing really good work, but it may take a while for those students to come back to you and say, I really appreciated that, or for you to see the benefits of it. So for you to be recognized on two fronts in 1 year is absolutely impressive, and by a state level organization that really have students at the heart of what they do.
Right.
You want to tell them a little bit more about that association and what it does for students and why it's so powerful for our students to be a part of that association?
So basically, networking is huge for our students. Every school has some kind of student council, some kind of student body, but I think being a part of the state network and of course through that the national network gives students just more opportunity for growth, both personal and then eventually professional, because we took a group of students to Mars Hill this summer for a leadership retreat, and it was powerful. I mean, our students really got an opportunity to see what they do in the larger lens, I guess, and to see that what they do is powerful. We bring it back to our school. We advocate for every student in our building, just not the ones who are willing to speak up. And so the last few years that I've been there, our students have really stepped up. We want this to happen. We want to have cleanup days. We want to have cultural events that represent all of our students. And so they would meet, and then they would come up with the ideas, and then I told them, don't approach me in the hallway. You can't. You got to sit me down and make me listen to what you're saying. And then we came up with what we could put into place for, the whole school to benefit. And that was giving students their voice and allowing them to say, hey, Mr. Faulk, this is what we would like to do. We talk at lunch, and my friends tell me this, the people on my team tell me this, and I want to tell you this because you don't get to hear everybody, but through our student council, then we get a chance to make that happen. And so they became my advisory council for students, for student voice.
That is awesome. And over the years in education, we've learned that those connections and students being part of a group are as much a part of educating students and really help lend to students being successful. Even when they come to community colleges or universities, one of the reasons that students tend to not persist in the higher rate is because they don't get connected. They don't become a part of a group, and they don't feel that sense of belonging. So, in Columbus County, a lot of times people know your name, they know your grandparents, they know the family that you're part of. So helping them understand how important it is to stay connected and be a part of a group is very powerful as they go on in life, whether they're going to the workforce, whether they go on to a college or university. Connection is really important. So that's super impressive that you did that as a principal. Leans to us understanding even more why you were selected on both fronts and the power of your role there. But that's not where you started, right?
Right.
So why don't you take us back and tell us a little bit about where you started, how long that you've been in Columbus County, and where you started as you're on your road to the path that you are now.
Okay. So in 1995, I graduated from Appalachian State with actually 3 degrees, but one was music education, piano performance, and a minor in history. And then so I came to Columbus County to interview, and it stood out because Dr. Strickland asked me to sing during the middle of the job interview just to prove that I had a voice, and I felt that to be kind of odd. And then, of course, the people interviewing me were William Wright and Billy Shipman.
Okay.
And I don't know if you know either of those two, but they were very, Mr. Shipman is still very, feisty figure, and I really enjoyed that interview. So I got hired to be the chorus teacher at Acme Delco Middle and Hallsboro Middle, and I did that for 2 years. And then I picked up Cerro Gordo, and I did that for a year. And then I did Cerro Gordo, Fair Bluff, and Evergreen for a year. And then they made East Columbus full-time as a chorus, and I went in 1999 to East Columbus. And I stayed there until 2017, and during that time I taught chorus, I taught theater, I taught band, and AP Music Theory.
Wow.
Then I left to go back to school to get my master's in school administration, and went to Central Middle in Whiteville City, worked with April Corbett there. Really, now, as a matter of fact, I was interviewed here with April Corbett 5 years ago.
Wow.
And then Acme Delco Elementary came open, and I went there as a principal. And then they consolidated the schools.
That's right.
And I went to East Columbus, and I was there for 3 years. And then this summer, I moved into the position of curriculum support coordinator for Columbus County Schools. So that's my basically career, 29 years in a nutshell.
Right, and all of it right here in Columbus County.
Correct.
So every step of the way, you continue to grow, and that's so impressive for you, but also for our community. What do you think the power has been for you in any of those roles to impact students and to help students through your journey? Because obviously you're an amazing person. You could have chosen a career in anything, but what drew you to education?
The students, their willingness to learn, their the fact that they want to learn. I don't, sometimes they'll argue with you. Let's have a easy day, Mr. Faulk. But then you think about it, they want structure. They want to
Right.
learn. They enjoyed putting on our productions. We may have fought back and forth until we got
Right.
there, but that moment on the stage in front of the parents and the audience, they really craved. And so the fact that they wanted to learn and they were willing to learn, I have students who will come to me now. I haven't seen them in, 20 some years. Remember that song, Mr. Faulk, that you taught us in chorus and we sang on the concert? I heard it on the radio the other day, and I started singing with it. So you never know which day the students are going to remember 20 years from now, but you have to give them your best every day. So that's what's kept me, the fact that they're willing to do the work. They want to learn. They want to do their best. I mean, nobody wants to not do well.
Right.
No one shows up that morning saying, you know what, today I'm going to just have a terrible day because I want to. They all start out every morning wanting to have the best day they can. And sometimes we're able to do that, just like all of us. Sometimes we're not.
That's right.
So being an educator over the years has taught me that that's what they want. They want to do their best, and then giving them your best, that give and take has kept me in education all these years. I thoroughly enjoy it. I love it, matter of fact. I went back into the classroom last year to teach when I had a teacher out, and I can't begin to tell you how much I enjoyed being in that room teaching.
Right.
Also, I direct the Southeastern Oratorio Society, and that gives me an opportunity to work with adults, but it's still teaching. I love to teach.
And the arts are so important, no matter what that you're doing. It is, all of us would like to believe that students remember what we taught them,
Right.
myself as a classroom teacher, but often they don't. But the things that you do in an arts classroom are often the things, the performance that you give lots of hours to, that you never really forget, and I believe makes you a stronger educator, a student across the board, because when you memorize anything, right?
Right.
That is a powerful foundation for learning. So how important is the arts to education and what we do when we're educating students?
So the wonderful thing about the arts, there's so much embedded in it. We talk about cross-disciplinary instruction. Well, it's
That's
there.
right.
We can relate the arts to every other curriculum in our building. And it's just easier for us to do that than some other classes. So the students, once you see the relevance of it, any teacher who can connect their class to something that's important to their students, they've won half the battle. That's right there, because what I'm doing today matters, as opposed to, well, I need this class to graduate, or I need this class to get to the next grade, or my mama said I had to come do my best. I'm actually learning something that I'll be able to use. And I think once the students see that, then it just makes the teacher's job easier. It does.
It does.
And also it helps the students learning, I guess, multiply,
For sure.
because I'm going to lock this in and keep it because I need it. I know I'll need this tomorrow, next week, the week after, as opposed to, well, once I take that test, I'm done. I'm never going to use this again, so let me just get through it. It stays in one part of the brain, and then it disappears when you're done with it, as
Right.
opposed to something that they know they're going to be using.
Right. And I often tell students to try to make that connection, is that a great musician would never say, oh, I'm excellent at this and I performed this so well, I'm never going to perform it again. They really perform it over and over until it becomes so integral that the learning that occurs there is so much higher because of that. Just when you get it, that's not enough.
Exactly.
You want to excel at it naturally. So,
And we're our hardest critics. Good
Right.
enough is never good enough. There's always, it can be a little bit better. I could have
That's
done
right.
that a little bit, held that note a little bit longer. I could have played that phrase more musically. I wanted more intense here. So there's always chances and opportunity for growth and improvement. And we're our hardest critics. I mean, I practice daily, and I'm like, oh, that was awful. and then I
But it
go back.
really wasn't.
It may not have been.
But you just continue to want to excel.
Right, exactly.
Right. Well, and that's the power of education. That's why we, all across the educational systems, are encouraging people to consider teaching and what a powerful role it is. But it's been amazing to talk to you today and to get to know a little bit more about what you're doing, and we really appreciate. Thank you for your 29 years of service and
Thank you.
everything you do for our county. Thank you so much for joining us with Columbus School Connects, and we look forward to seeing you next time. Have a great day.